It's the Brad Field Weather Podcast, underwritten by McAllen Construction Company of Prospect, a woman-owned small minority business, and by Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury, a full-service family-run flooring company. I am Dan Lovallo, along with meteorologist Brad Field. What you are about to hear is a rebroadcast of a Facebook Live broadcast Brad and I did on Friday, January the 29th. Well, let's talk about the weather.
I wanted to tell you that forecaster discussion that I read this morning uttered the words polar vortex and said it was coming directly overhead. And I could tell you they quoted it as 507 decameters and whatever. That's the thickness of the atmospheric layer. And when the atmospheric layer is thin, it is very, very, very cold air. So we've got the core of the coldest air moving over us, and it's not going to be in any hurry to leave. We're going to have temperatures down near zero again tonight. We're going to have temperatures down near zero again tomorrow night. And, I think it's even more dramatic during the daytime. The sun is out, it's shining, it's beaming, it's beautiful, it looks great out there, but you go out there, the sun is most ineffective. The last I checked, Dan, and here we are now in the late morning, heading up toward noontime, and the temperature currently is 8. So it's very possible that some of the hill towns today may not get out of the single digits. And I was also looking at the wind a little bit earlier this morning around 8 o'clock, and we were seeing gusts to 35 at Bradley, and we were seeing gusts to 40 around Meriden Markham Airport. So you take those temperatures in the single digits and you put in wind gusts to 35 to 40 miles per hour. We're talking wind chills close to 20 below zero out there, Dan. And the National Weather Service for interior Connecticut has a wind chill advisory in effect through lunchtime today. So this is fairly brutal in terms of the cold. And tomorrow, I think we'll be in the teens once again for the high temperatures. So you're going to notice the streams and the brooks and the everything freezing up. Even, the ponds have frozen up. But I'm talking about the water that moves in streams and so forth, waterfalls. We're going to see those freezing up over the course of the next couple of mornings.
I want to talk for just a moment about one of the underwriters for the Brad Field Weather Podcast, McAllen Construction of Prospect, a full-service construction company servicing the entire state of Connecticut for over 25 years and on call 24/7, 365 days a year. That's important because snow is in our forecast, and McAllen Construction does do snow removal. And I think we're going to need some snow removal over the next few days or even longer than that. McAllen Construction is a woman-owned small minority business, state of Connecticut, licensed and insured. Licensed as a major contractor, new home construction contractor, plumbing and piping limited P7, home improvement contractor, and subsurface sewage installer. Utility, carpentry, excavation, and as I said, snow removal for residents, commercial businesses, and state and local governments. Remember, McAllen Construction is on call 24/7 year-round. Call McAllen Construction today, 203-758-3474, 203-758-3474, or go online, McAllenConstructionCT.com. McAllenConstructionCT.com. McAllen Construction, from the first dig to the last nail. Now, Brad, this is interesting because, like you always say, weather is a situation that's in balance, the atmosphere in balance, and everything is interconnected. But you mentioned that thin layer of air. You mentioned how cold it is right now, that we are going to be under the polar vortex. And I guess because of that, and I'm skipping ahead just a bit, but because of that, will that impact the arrival of the snowstorm we're talking about for early next week?
Well, you know that the cold air is molecularly dense. So I always equate it to maybe Brad Field trying to go through an NFL offensive line. It's going to be very, very tough for me to even gain an inch. And that's going to be the case, I think, on Monday when we are looking at the potential for a major nor'easter impacting let's say the megapolis from Washington to Baltimore to Philadelphia to New York up to Boston. Um, the I could very easily see at daybreak on Monday it's snowing hard on Long Island, snowing hard in New York City, maybe getting into Greenwich around daybreak Monday, but it might take the entire day to traverse Connecticut. You know, you get in a car and go from New Haven to the Mass border on I-91 without traffic, might take you an hour. But I think this will take hours on Monday. It may be 7 in the morning before the snow starts on the Connecticut shore, and 7 in the evening by the time you get up to maybe Springfield. So you're right, Dan, that cold, dense air, molecularly heavy, is going to kind of be like that blocking line of football players, not allowing the northward progression of the storm and taking a long time for it to get up here.
So let's, I think the best thing to do then is go to the beginning, so to speak. Let's start by looking at what's on the weather map now. You mentioned the polar vortex, the cold weather over us. What's causing this, and how long will the cold weather stick around?
Well, Dan, at the surface, the high pressure system is over Lake Superior, and it ridges all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. I was looking at some temperatures projected for Georgia over the weekend of being in the 20s for lows. So, I mean, the cold air has legs. It's deep into the south, and the combination of the high advancing from Lake Superior in conjunction with low pressure in the Western Atlantic is creating a strong northerly wind. Those gusts that I talked about between 35 and 40 miles per hour, and they are straight out of the north. I'll say something from meteorologists because not many other people will understand it. But at the 850 millibar level today, this morning, the air was as cold as minus 41 Celsius. So, you know, you're talking about a mile up in the atmosphere, it being that cold. So we are looking at bitterly cold air over us. It's going to be over us Saturday morning too. Now, the saving grace for Saturday morning is that we will still have a wind flow. The high is going to be oriented from the Great Lakes to Virginia. We will still have a northerly flow, which will preclude radiational cooling. The wind keeps the atmosphere mixed up. So we are going to see that mixing through daybreak tomorrow, which will prevent us from getting ridiculously cold temperature numbers overnight tonight. Because remember, for radiational cooling, we need the three things. We need a clear sky. We need a calm or very gentle wind so that the heat energy of the day can freely escape through the atmosphere. And the third factor, the very important, is snow cover. And, our snow cover is not deep. It ranges from maybe 2 to 5 inches across Connecticut right now, but it's enough. There's plenty of white out there to reflect the sunlight today, the white with a high reflectivity reflecting the sunlight. So the combination of the clear sky, not much in the way of wind, and the fact that we have snow cover, that will play into the Sunday morning low temperature. Because I think on Sunday morning, that high is going to ridge from Hudson Bay to about Albany, New York. So our wind may be something like north at 3 miles per hour. Some of the valleys will conk off to calm winds on Sunday morning. So with a clear sky, no wind, snow cover, I could very easily see the cold spots in Connecticut on Sunday morning being 10 below. So Sunday is going to be a bitter start to the day. We will see some increase in clouds on Sunday because the storm that's coming, will be in southern Illinois at daybreak on Sunday. Now, by daybreak on Monday, that low is organizing off Norfolk, Virginia. And if you've lived in New England a while, we get our big storms that come up the coast. Cape Hatteras, Norfolk, Virginia, the Delmarva, where Delaware and Maryland and Virginia all come together, Atlantic City, New Jersey, and a storm taking that route and then tracking toward the benchmark, which we all know by heart now, is 40 north and 70 west, a position southeast of Nantucket. When we get a storm that takes that track, we can get very major snow amounts. I'm not saying we will, Dan, but I'm saying we can. And again, the time frame would be Monday daybreak, right along the Connecticut shore, taking practically all day to move inland across Connecticut. But then Monday night and Tuesday, we get the snow. Now, by Tuesday morning, the low is off Atlantic City, New Jersey, south of Cape Cod. It's a good position for us. And by Wednesday, that low is south of Nova Scotia. We're seeing clearing here on Wednesday, but we return to that strong northerly wind once again. But I do not think it will be Arctic cold on Wednesday. I think it'll be just seasonal cold with a lot of wind and temperatures probably in the 30s during the day on Wednesday. So, I can break it down here for you. What do you want to hear about first, the cold or the snow?
Well, we'll go with the cold first. So, when we talk cold, you've kind of hinted at the temperatures and wind chill factors and all that's in play here. Again, is this actually a polar vortex we are currently under?
Well, as far as the colloquial term, yes, absolutely. This is about as cold as it's going to get here, I think, this winter. In terms of sustained cold, you don't often get consecutive days with a high temperature, only where the low temperature is supposed to be. The low temperature this time of year is supposed to be about 15 or 16. The high isn't even going to make it to what the low should be. So that's good cold. I mean, this is really cold stuff over us. And we had at midnight today, Dan, Friday, January 29th, midnight, it was 14. I predict that that's going to be the high temperature for the day. The low this morning was 6. It could be colder than that at 11:59 this evening. So we are talking a day where the average temperature for the day is going to be under 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be the average temperature for the day. So this is real cold stuff. And then you combine in with that, Dan, gusts to 35 at Bradley, gusts to 40 at Meriden Markham. So we're looking at teens today, 10 to 15 through interior Connecticut. As I stated before, Goshen and Norfolk and, Salisbury, for example, the high may very well be 8 or 9 today. Sharon, which is your backdrop, a temperature might be 8 or 9, 15 to 20 along the immediate shore. So they'll be walking around in T-shirts and down around Bridgeport today. Overnight tonight, Dan, we're looking at 5 below to 5 above. Sheltered locations have the best chance of being 5 below, where you can knock off some of that wind. Shoreline temperatures tonight range between 5 and 10 above zero. Saturday's highs, 15 to 20. So the second consecutive day of highs no more than in the teens up at Bradley. Maybe some low 20s showing up at the Connecticut shoreline. Sunday with increasing clouds, temperatures in the 20s. Monday, while it starts to snow, temperature between 28 and 34. Now, where do I get this 34 from all of a sudden? That's not for you up in Torrington. You're lucky to get 28. But the 34 is for Stonington and New London and Groton and Mystic, because when the winds go easterly in advance of the storm coming up the coast, they're ultimately to some degree blowing off the Atlantic Ocean and Long Island Sound. And no matter how cold it is this weekend, and it's going to be cold, I assure you that the Sound and the ocean will not freeze. So the wind will be blowing off water temperatures in the 30s. So for a while, when we have the easterly wind, temperatures even along the Connecticut shoreline could make it up above freezing by a degree or two. But then Tuesday, as the low goes by our longitude and the winds shift to north again, I think that even right down to the Connecticut shoreline, temperatures Tuesday will be at and under the 32-degree mark, because the northerly wind obviously is blowing off the land, coming down from central Massachusetts and western Massachusetts and northern Connecticut, right down to the Connecticut shoreline. So I've got 28 to 34 on Monday, 26 to 32 on Tuesday, with snow of varying intensities on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we will see clearing and temperatures in the 30s. Now, the next obvious question, Dan, how much snow?
Yes. Before we get to that, however, explain to our audience, Brad, explain how this cold weather, how extreme cold air really runs interference as far as delaying the arrival of storms such as the magnitude you're talking about.
Well, it's twofold, Dan. As I stated before, the cold air molecules are more molecularly dense and they're harder to displace. But also the fact that we are in pure Arctic air right now, and that's reflective of the dew points and the dew point projections. The dew points are projected to be in the digits below zero. So if you factor that out, what the relative humidity is, we are in some bone dry air. So the fact of the matter is, the molecularly dense cold air molecules, number one. But number two, you look at the radar on Monday morning, I guarantee you, to your untrained eye, Dan, but to my trained eye, it's going to look like it's snowing across Connecticut and up into western Massachusetts and so forth. And you might be thinking, well, why does the radar show it's snowing, but it's not? It is, but it's having trouble making it to the ground because the air that the snowflake is traveling through is so dry, the snowflake is sublimating before it can make it to the ground. So it will eventually moisten up the column, we call it, the air straight up over our heads for miles up. The column will have to moisten up before the snowflakes can make it successfully to the ground. So it's twofold. It's the density of the molecules, number one, and number two, the dryness of the Arctic air mass.
Susan is a weather nut like me. I'm going to take that slice, that soundbite you just gave us, and I'm going to give it to her because I cannot tell you the number of times she will look out the window, it's cloudy out, and she'll look at the radar and say, look, it shows snow over us. How come it's not snowing? Well, now I'm going to give her the perfect explanation as to why it's not snowing. It's snowing above us. It just hasn't reached the ground yet, correct?
Well, Dan, I gave it the Brad Field effort of excellence, but I'm not sure it was an excellent answer. It was an answer, though.
There's a name for that, though. Isn't there a name for that when it's snowing above us but not reaching the ground?
Well, yeah, it's what the
Is
heck
it
is it
Virgo?
called?
What's
Virga, not Virgo,
Virga?
Virga.
Virga.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of sublimation and evaporation and so forth, but right, you look at in the summer, you see a sky and a dark cloud off in the distance, and you see shafts of rain falling from the cloud, but it's not hitting the ground. Apparently, not hitting the ground. That is called Virga.
Okay. Brad, now the big question. Is it too early to talk about accumulation amounts?
Well, if you want to be correct, it's probably too early. But we call this what do we call this? I've got to make this PG rated. It's kind of the model cha-cha. You put the snowstorm in, you take the snowstorm out, you put the snowstorm in, and you shake it all about. But this happens, and you will see less experienced meteorologists, people that we refer to in the trade, us old veterans, we refer to in the trade as the model huggers. Every time the model comes out, it's like, oh no, the storm is going out to sea. And then 6 hours later, the storm's right back on track, apparently. So you're going to go through these model gyrations with time. But what we call pattern recognition is that when you are in this kind of pattern, you can get major mid-Atlantic and Northeast snowstorms. So, I'm staying with that right now to try to pin it down to, how much snow will Norwich get and how much snow will Goshen get. I can't do that. But I can give you some overviews that, and I'm first going to give it for the snow lovers who I know like me, because in my 35 years on television in Connecticut, they could tell I liked snow. So they like me. They don't like the guys that don't like snow.
All right.
But anyway, the Canadian Meteorological Center, the CMC is what the model is called, and the Global Deterministic Prediction System, the GDPS is the acronym, gives, and I see you're sitting down, Dan, this is good, gives over 2 feet of snow to Northeast Pennsylvania, Northwest New Jersey. That's what they have, the CMC has as the jackpot. 2 feet of snow, Northeast Pennsylvania, Northwest New Jersey. But Connecticut snow lovers, don't despair. They have 12 to 18 inches for Western Connecticut and 6 to 12 inches in Eastern Connecticut, out toward the Rhode Island border. All right, that's the Canadian suite of models. The GFS is a little bit different. It has over 6 inches of snow in Eastern Connecticut this time. Over a foot of snow in northern Rhode Island and the southwest suburbs of Boston. Over a foot off to our south, southeast Pennsylvania, and central New Jersey. So you see, the Canadian has it into northeastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey and western Connecticut. The GFS takes it a little further to the south, southeastern Pennsylvania, central New Jersey, so kind of going under us, and then curving up toward and catching Rhode Island and the southwest suburbs of Boston. That's what the GFS is doing. But as I said, that was this morning's model run. This afternoon's model run might have a direct bullseye over Torrington. You just can't tell what it's going to do. It's in, it's out, it's in, it's out. The European model is more similar to the GFS right now. It has 3 to 6 inches for most of the state, 6 inches plus toward the Rhode Island border, and about a foot in the southwest suburbs of Boston again. So, if we're kind of honing in on a bullseye here, The Canadian suite of models has the bullseye from northeastern Pennsylvania, northwest New Jersey, western Connecticut. And the GFS and European models has mainly eastern Connecticut, but especially northern Rhode Island on up into the southwest suburbs of Boston, the Framinghams and the Newtons of the world, and the Needhams and the Foxboroughs type of thing. So that's obviously it captures your attention. And the other thing we have to pay attention to too, Dan, is that once we overcome the dryness of the column with the Arctic air, we're going to have some big ratios with this storm. So the computer models that we look at go with a 10-to-1 ratio, which is the normal ratio of, you get 10 inches of snow for every 1 inch of liquid precipitation. But I would submit to you that we are going to get much higher ratios in this storm because the column of air above us is going to be very, very cold. And if things are in the right position, we've got the favorable storm track. We've got the cold high to the north. So things are in position for us to get clobbered. Not saying we will, but things are in position for us to get clobbered. Somebody's going to get clobbered from northeastern Pennsylvania through New Jersey, through southern New England. Somebody is going to get clobbered. But whether that's Stonington or whether that's Colebrook and Salisbury and West Granby, don't know right now. If I had to bet, I would say that eastern Connecticut has a better chance of doing better on this one than northwestern Connecticut.
Even though some of the models say northwestern Connecticut right now could get between a foot and a foot and a half of snow.
That's what the Canadian says, yes. Right. And if the Canadian comes through and is right, guess what my new favorite model is going to be? But right now, Dan, it's the models are going all around the mulberry bush. But the big thing is to recognize that this pattern could yield and probably will yield something very big.
So is it fair to say that all of the models are in agreement we are going to get a snowstorm Monday into Tuesday?
Yes, but the magnitude of the snowstorm could range from a light to moderate to a blockbuster. Now, so I mean, I would consider 3 to 6 inches of snow light to moderate. It's not, right. For us, it's not a big deal.
Right.
Blockbuster, over a foot and a half, something like that. So I could see either scenario at this point.
Is it fair to say, and maybe we should give our audience a warning, this is not a short sell on snow amounts? A short sell.
Oh my goodness, Dan! It took me a minute.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That was very clever.
Thank you.
Very clever.
Thank you. But
it's like GameStop. I want Bradfield Weather to be your one stop for weather information, and stay with us over the weekend at bradfieldweather.com. I'll provide any updates on how brutally cold it might get, or how much snow we're looking at in the Monday-Tuesday timeframe. And also, Dan and I, as we were telling you here on Facebook and on StreamYard audio, that we are a work in progress. We're improving. My audio's better now that I'm not on the stupid cell phone anymore, sounding like I'm talking out of a tin can. But we are improving things, and perhaps maybe by Monday we'll figure out how to get questions from the audience.
Yes, I'll be working on that over the weekend.
Did you notice what I said? We'll figure it out. Well, I just sit in my house making weather forecasts. Dan figures it out.
Is it? And of course, we're doing this on the fly today in many respects. So should we?
I shaved though. I did say.
I didn't.
I did it because I'm afraid of my wife. If she'll let me get away with the baseball cap, that I don't have to mess with my hair.
Yep.
But the not shaving, she would give me a hard time.
That's it, huh?
And I'm afraid of her.
I want to talk a bit about Action Carpet and Floor Covering, one of our underwriters for the Bradfield Weather Podcast. It's that time of year when perhaps you're looking at remodeling your home and you want new floors or maybe new tile in the bathroom. The place to go is Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury, founded in 1993 by Kevin Blake. Action Carpet and Floor Covering serves both residential and commercial customers. They offer brand-name floor covering products in vinyl, laminate, hardwood, carpet, area rugs, and tile, plus backsplash. Yes, it is time to think about remodeling the home for spring, and that's where Action Carpet and Floor Covering comes in. By the way, free estimates on all installations from Action Carpet and Floor Covering. Free quotes are offered for insurance estimates, high pressure or hot water extraction, stripping and waxing of floors, upholstery cleaning, restoration, area rug cleaning, and much, much more. Action Carpet and Floor Covering wants their customers to be beyond satisfied. They want to be considered their customers' one and only floor covering company. Call Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury today at 860-651-8406, 860-651-8406, or go online at action-carpet.com. Action-carpet.com. Action Carpet and Floor Covering, a full-service flooring company. Let me ask you this. Should we do a crystal ball segment? Have you looked out into, because February 1st is on Monday, have you looked out into the middle of February, or is it too early for a crystal ball?
I did, Dan, I did. And the Canadian model goes out 768 hours. So that would be 480 hours is 2 weeks out. So this is almost 7 weeks out in time.
Wow.
And so we're essentially looking at into the beginning of March. The Canadian model does have snow cover on the ground for us most of the time in February. So what I mean by most of the time is I did some random jumping around and looking at snow depths on various days. There was a time right around my youngest son's birthday, February 7th or February 8th. The models are predicting an inside runner. And what do we mean by that? We mean the storm will cut to our west. So even if it's short fused, warm air will get in here and there will be melting of snow cover, and there may be heavy rain associated with the front coming through, which will maybe wipe out snow cover, especially in southeastern Connecticut, working its way. Last to lose the snow will obviously be the Northwest Hills. But there was a little time around there, like the 7th and 8th of February, that there might be not much snow or no snow on the ground, maybe some piles. But then it's back again. Mid-February, late February, I was looking at the lot of snow on the ground. The beginning of March, like March 5th, I think it was, took it away again. So it was probably either warming air or an inside runner again. But I would think that the month of February should be fairly respectable if you're a snow lover. And as we said in podcasts past, the cold air begets cold air, because you are going to be seeing things freeze that typically don't freeze. Like, say in a normal winter, a percentage of the Great Lakes freezes over. Well, because of the consecutive days of bitterly cold air, a higher percentage of the Great Lakes will freeze over. Running rivers will start to freeze over. Streams will freeze over that flow. Waterfalls will even freeze over. So and then the snowfields, the expansion of the snowfields, they protect themselves mainly because of the fact that they're white and they reflect sunlight. So it's easier to melt the snow once you start poking holes in it, and you get some ground to show. Then that you'll see the bare spot expand around that hole, and that's how it melts, because the white snow that is especially the white snow that's shaded and doesn't get much sun at all will be the last to go. So the expanding snowfields make it colder at night, and that induces more cold high pressure, which is good for when a storm comes along if we have a cold high in place. So the whole system kind of feeds on itself. So I think I didn't look at it much this morning, but I think February there'll maybe be a few iterations of warm air, but I think overall it will be fairly snowy.
Okay. Well, and I guess with that, we'll put a wrap on things, unless there's anything else you'd like to add before we put a summation with our forecast.
No, there were no questions from the audience, but hopefully, you could mail as a fail safe.
Yes.
You could mail some into bradfieldweather.com on Monday morning, and if we don't happen to have the ability to read the questions live, Dan will have the questions. So that might be one way to do it. So, but putting a wrap on it, as you said, Dan, it's sunny, it's windy, it's ridiculously cold today. The hill towns might not get to 10. Overnight tonight, we're talking 5 below to 5 above for most of us. The shoreline cities will be between 5 and 10. Saturday will be sunny. I'm not going to call it windy, but we'll call it breezy. 15 to 20, except 20 to 25 right along the Connecticut beaches. Sunday night, I could see temperatures anywhere from 10 below to 5 above with the radiational cooling. Sunday, increasing clouds, temperature in the 20s. Sunday's our last day of January,
That's
by
right.
the way. Again, Monday, snow will be developing slowly, like a turtle walking up I-91 from south to north across the state. Temperature between 28 and 34. Snow Monday night. Tuesday, it looks like snow of varying intensities as the storm starts pulling away from the New England coast. Winds flipping to north, so any kind of above freezing temperatures that they see Monday on the immediate Connecticut shoreline will be cut off at the pass as the wind shifts to north. So 26 to 32 across the state on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, partial clearing and windy, and temperatures in the 30s.
There you go. And we are working on doing something special for perhaps early Monday afternoon, going live again on Facebook, as you mentioned, and giving everybody an update as this storm develops, correct?
Correct. Sounds good, Dan. Thank you.
Okay. Brad, we always love to thank our first responders before we wrap up the podcast, so a big thank you to them for all that they do, really on the front lines during this pandemic. So a big thank you to all of our first responders, and to you and Sandy and our podcast audience. Have a tremendous weekend.
Thank you, Dan. And as you said, thank you to the first responders. My mother-in-law right here in Connecticut got her first dose of the vaccine, and my dad is in Massachusetts, and Governor Baker is allowing people of his age range to sign up beginning on February 1st.
Our Bradfield Weather Podcast has been underwritten by Action Carpet and Floor Covering of Simsbury, a full-service family-run flooring company, and by McAllen Construction Company of Prospect, from the first dig to the last nail. And remember, McAllen Construction also does snow removal.